Hello, welcome to the OSU Alumni Association's Travel Talk presentation, The Majestic Mekong River. I am Kate Sanders, Director of Alumni Programs and Alumni Group Travel. We have a great program for you tonight. In just a bit, Sandy Doss, Business Development Manager for Mayflower and OSU Mom, will be joining us to walk us through this great river cruise program. And she'll walk through all you'll see and all your experience while on the trip. The trip is wonderful, but so is the boat. With only 42 cabins, the Emerald Harmony was built exclusively for the Mekong River. But before we begin on that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Alumni Association travel program. We've been around for about 30 years, providing group tour options for alumni and friends of the university. We offer both exclusive departures and trips with a mix of alumni from OSU and other partnering institutions, such as USC, Washington, and others. Every year, we select between 30 to 40 tours from a variety of well-established and well-respected travel providers and promote them to our community. When a tour sells well, a professor, a university leader, or an alumni association representative joins the tour, providing additional educational content about the destination and the university. Not only is the bond with the university strengthened by sending a host, but they also assist with tour logistics to ensure that you have a great time. We recently just had a series of wonderful travel talks. There was one on returning to travel during this time of COVID, the Gorilla Trek in Uganda, and a talk on Alaska's Inside Passage. In just a few weeks, on June 1st, so save the date, we are going to have another great talk on Yellowstone National Park with renowned photojournalist and award-winning former editor-in-chief of National Geographic magazine, Chris Johns. And also we'll be with Bill Ripple, Distinguished Professor of Enology at OSU's Department of Forest Ecosystems and Society. And he is best known for his research on trophic cascades and particularly the role of the gray fox. We'll be sharing more of this information about this great talk in the coming weeks. So for now, just save the date, June 1st, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on Zoom, like tonight. If you'd like to view any of these webcasts, please visit fororegonstate.org/travel talks. I'll put that link in the chat box too. The recordings are at the bottom of that webpage. This program is too being recorded and will be posted online in the next few days. And you will receive an email with a link to the recording as well. So about tonight's program. Tonight, we are to talk with Sandy Doss, Business Development Manager of Mayflower and OSU Mom. And we have partnered with Mayflower on a few trips. In just a few weeks, Tulip Time is set to depart at the end of April, and that one's going to be pretty great. French and Italian Rivieras is departing in October 2022. So this fall, we still have a little bit of space on it. So if you're itching to get away this fall, it's a great choice. And then in February 2023, this trip will depart the Mekong River. And then in August 2023 will be the Gorilla Trek in Uganda. And we only have 4 spots left on that tour. So if that was something that you were thinking about, you would want to act on that soon. And all of these tours are on our calendar as well online. And we'll also add that link in the chat box too. So without further ado, please welcome Sandy Doss.
Well, hi. Everybody. Hi.
Hello.
Well, welcome happy Tuesday night to you all. So first off, let me give you a quick introduction, you guys. A little bit about Mayflower. I'm here in Portland, Oregon. I have worked with Kate for about 5 or 6 years now. We have a lot of wonderful alignment together. And I have a great passion for travel for you all in particular, because for me, this is personal and professional. And I am a mom of an OSU graduate student right now, also finished her undergrad there. And we were really excited about this cruise, you all. And there's a number of reasons why. But I want to begin with a little bit about the Mekong. And I'm going to start with, just reiterating the dates that Kate had shared. This cruise is designed for February 28th through the 14th. We were precise in our picking of the date because that's the dry season. So we are going to avoid all the rains. It's the absolute optimum time to be on the Mekong. I often will say to people when we're putting a trip together, who's the ideal candidate for a trip like this? What would make this experience, really unique for you? And I would tell you that if you have been on other types of river cruises in the past, then this is going to be a wonderful addition to that repertoire, because this is an opportunity to intimately sail down the Mekong River. And this is a lifeblood river in this region of the world. So it just is immense with biodiversity, but also rich with history. So if you have a real love affair with the history of the world, this is an excellent trip for you. If you're a photographer, I'm going to also add that in. I think there's very few trips I think that any of us would do that probably don't require photography or pull us to attention, but this one will all offer you incredible photographic opportunities. And also this one is, I'm going to say this trip is going to bring us very close to what I'm going to say is a much more authentic experience. We're working with very small villages along the way. So you're really interacting with the locals in a way that is maybe a little bit different than if you've done a European cruise, for instance. And so this one is a little bit longer, you guys. It's a 15-day trip, and we have 30 meals. It's almost entirely inclusive. There's a few things that you might, be required to do as far as a meal or something outside of the itinerary that we'll be going with. But for the most part, it's inclusive. And this is an opportunity to discover the heritage and traditions enriched by 2,000 years of human history. So we're going to take some deep dives here in Southeast Asia. And, it's fishing boats and floating markets and the life along the river. And so it's just going to capture you, I think, on a variety of ways. It's kind of a juxtaposition of ancient temples and modern palaces. So you have this like modern day Vietnam and modern day Cambodia mixed with the heritage of, societies from long ago.
One fun thing I want to say about this trip is one of the reasons why we're offering this today is actually because two of our travelers who are going on the Tulip Time trip, we started talking about this one and they thought it would be a really great tour, and we ended up adding it to our itinerary. So just note, if there is a tour out there that you love and that you want to see on our list, let us know, because who knows, we could add it just like we added this one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And this is kind of about great empires, you guys, that once inhabited these lands. So we're going to look at the clues that they left behind. So, I'm going to come back to who's also a candidate for a trip like this. The archaeology is over the moon. If you have been to South America and visited Machu Picchu, or you've been in the Maya corridor, this is going to feel very similar to that, and just will light you up in many ways. But we're going to begin with a variety of sites. And so I'm going to do a little bit about what is it that we're going to see. And then I'm going to take you, where is it that we're going to be? And then we're going to come back to what is it we're going to see again, because I want to take you through a little bit of the flow of this, because the experience of where you're staying is as incredible as the experiences of what you're going to explore. And this is the Angkor Wat ruins. This is the most enduring capital city of the Khmer Empire. And most of what we're seeing in this particular region is from the 12th century. So we are going way back in time. And Angkor Wat was founded by a king, and I never pronounce this right, so I'm just going to apologize now. It's Yayavarman the Seventh, who was one of the most important figures of the Khmer Empire. He was a Buddhist, and during his time, now this is again in the 12th century, his reign oversaw a wholesale conversion of the Khmer people from Hinduism to Buddhism. So he was rather a very important figure during this time period. He was a great believer in public works. So here we are in the 12th century, and he was known for creating schools, hospitals, and reservoirs. And so as we explore these archaeological sites, we're going to be with local guides who are going to offer us this greater insight to what we are seeing and sort of the stories of these people, such as this king who created, you know, this temple. And most foreign guests call this area Ta Prohm. It's most of us, and we've maybe even seen this picture, you guys, the jungle temple, right? It's these densely overgrown trees that have come over the temple. And there's no other temple in the world that has such numerous trees on the stones. And so when I was saying earlier about photographers, it just doesn't get any better than this. You really can't grab a bad shot. We're going to be delving not only into the archaeology, but the spirituality and the belief system in this part of the world. And Buddhism is the official religion of Cambodia, and it's practiced by about 95% of the population. So it's very similar to that of Thailand, Burma, and Sri Lanka are in a similar percentage of population who are Buddhist in the country. And our travels are going to begin in Siem Reap. And this is a cheerful city, you all. It embraces travelers like old friends, is how I would describe this. This site was a region of successive capitals of the Khmer Empire. And it's basically, this region was built up from the 9th to the 15th century. And the areas that we're visiting in Angkor Wat, which I'm going to come to in a minute, which is just one of those woo, this is called the Angkor Archaeological Park, and it's just 4 miles outside of the city center. So here we are, being able to explore these ruins, and they're going to be so close to this vibrant city of ours. And something I didn't mention was, in addition to the cruise that we're going to be doing, this is also a land experience too. You're going to have several nights in Siem Reap in a beautiful hotel in the city center. And then we'll be boarding our ship and then cruising and then having, again, some time on land in Ho Chi Minh. So it's exciting to me because you kind of get both perspectives, I would say. One of the highlights while we're in Siem Reap is this is Cambodia's answer to Cirque du Soleil is how I would describe this. But this is a Cambodian circus. And these entertainers, these artists are so talented, you guys. It is over the moon. I don't even know how to begin to describe it, but I think what makes it over the moon for me is the dancers and all of the artists that you will see in this show are coming from disadvantaged, refugee, socially challenged scenarios where students were given the opportunity to be schooled in these arts and then build this career, if it may, of this Cambodian circus. And so these artists are paid very well for their talents, but it is a social project. It is a nonprofit, and there is a school behind this that these students are schooled for years before their performance in front of you. And so it makes it, I think, a little bit richer in the experience itself, because there's a story behind this story. Now, I've been mentioning Angkor Wat, and this is an incredible site. It was originally built in the first half of the 12th century as a Hindu temple. So this was originally a Hindu temple. It was dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu, and it became a Buddhist temple by the end of the 12th century, again under the king that we were talking about a minute ago. And it has a story here that I think is very reminiscent of what we've seen in the Incan civilizations, in the Aztec civilizations, in the Maya civilizations, because we don't quite know what the cause of the demise of this population was, like what happened here in this society. And it sort of ended in the 15th century, and it's remained a mystery. And of course, there's a lot of conjecture about what they think might have happened. Some scientists have showcased data that shows that there was an intense monsoon rains that followed prolonged droughts. And so it is widely thought that it was the conditions of the environment that ended up bringing this society, to its knees, and eventually the collapse. And so I find it interesting because we've seen that with these other societies around the world. And what makes Angkor Wat so interesting, this is a UNESCO heritage site. And those of you that have been with me on other talks, you know I have a love affair with seeing all of the UNESCO heritage sites around the world. This area comprises, you guys, 1,000 buildings, and it's one of the greatest cultural wonders in the world. It is the largest religious structure covering 400 acres and marks the high point of the Khmer architecture. So it is considered the largest religious structure of 400 acres. We are going to explore this in all of its glory. I can't tell you we're going to make it through all 400 acres, but you are going to have a great opportunity to really understand each piece and part of this site as we are there. And Angkor Wat, translated from the Khmer's official language of Cambodia, literally means, ready for this, you guys? City temple. That's what it literally means. Sounds pretty generic, doesn't it? Like really doesn't have much, like really, this is the name. But Angkor Wat's name, and the original name, we don't actually know. Very little is known. It's not found in any of the inscriptions that we see in the masonry work. So there's a lot of different belief systems about what this might have been titled, or this site, would it have been known as, I guess, back in the day. But it's quite incredible to consider that we don't actually have our hands on what the sites, how the locals would have understood the site's name. And considering it is one of the largest religious sites of the world. And so I find that really fascinating. And again, we're going to be doing some deep dives into this discussion. There are 1,200 square meters of carved bas reliefs in Angkor Wat, and this would be an example of this. And they represent 8 different Hindu stories. Perhaps, probably, you guys, the most important narrative is one that you'll see called the churning of the ocean of milk. And we're going to see this when we are there, but it depicts a story about the beginning of time and the creation of the universe. And it's also a story about victory over good over evil, which I think we can all use in today's climate. So we will walk through these various depictions and learn a little bit about each of them. The construction of Angkor Wat began in about 1116, and it basically was ended in about 1150. So what is that, like 30 something years for the entire site to be built. And the evidence for these dates that they have for this comes from the inscriptions. It's a little bit vague, but they also know from the architectural design and the artistic style of the temple and its sculptures about that era of when this was all designed. So we're really going far back in time. And it also plays a really important part. And here's the thing that I love about countries like Cambodia or Vietnam or Madagascar or Uganda. These are countries that I'm going to say aren't on the mass, it's not like going to Europe. They're not on the mass track, right? And so there's a real excitement by having you as their guest in a way that I don't think you really encounter in, let's say, tourism locations that are really active You know, this is areas where there's a great pride for their natural resources and a great pride for these archaeological heritage sites. And so Angkor Wat, of course, is a huge draw for Cambodia, and it's a great sense of pride. Even today, the Buddhists still use this site as a place to gather for the monks and the nuns to worship. And so you will see that as you're touring the site itself. And like I said, the photography is going to be over the moon. This is an early morning shot as the sun is rising. And but this is really an important symbol of the Cambodian nation as a whole. And so we're going to spend some time exploring this key archaeological location before we begin to take this next transition for us. And after these several days, we're going to voyage on our new home away from home. And I want to introduce you to the Emerald Harmony. And I'm going to add to some things that Kate said, because this is what excites me even more. You guys, this boat was built, this ship was built in 2019. It had, let's say, a handful of sailings under its belt before COVID struck. And then everything came to a nice halt. And so we are essentially going to be on a ship that has had, you know, to be honest, very little use, which makes me very excited, because it's as if you're coming on to the brand new ship, even though it was built in 2019. And as Kate was sharing with you, this is a 42 cabin vessel. So this is a small, intimate sailing with a max as you know, of just about 80 people on board. And unlike most of what makes this particular ship interesting, and actually it was a groundbreaking, a game changer on the Mekong, is that it was designed to come straight into Ho Chi Minh City. And this is a big piece of information for you all, because traditionally when you do this route, you would have had to take a 2-hour coach drive to bring, you know, from your ship prior to this to come into the city at the end of your cruise. And in our case, we're going to be able to actually cruise right on into the harbor and dock right there in the center of the city. And so that makes that a bit of a game changer, and it avoids this 2-hour drive that we once used to have to do. And it might be a small ship, but it is a mighty ship. I think of all the, we own 28 river cruising ships, you all. We own 3 ocean discovery yachts. And of all the ships that we have, this one, I just think from the aesthetic is just over the top. It's serene, it's simple, it's spa-like in its decor. It really has this kind of contemporary design with an Asian-inspired, you know, luxury. You are pampered on board, and I'm going to geek out for a second about the ship just so I can show you a little bit about, you know, remember I said what we're going to see and then how we're going to see it, and so I'm going to go to the how for a second. So this is going to be our home away from home, and our dining is living large. You will have a variety of seating options. You will sit as a group on many nights, but you'll also have the opportunity to dine apart if you wish. And the space is quite spacious. So you're really never on top of anybody. This area here in the center in the Reflections restaurant is set up for buffets. So during lunch and dinner, a buffet would be set up at this particular location. And I should also mention, not that this is important to anybody, but just in case, wine, beer, and soda is included with lunch and dinner. And I'll be honest with you, they pour very lavishly. And you do have to pay attention because yeah, your glass will never be empty. So that is included in your you know, trip. And that's nice to have, because it's those little things that surprise you, you know, sometimes when you're taking a trip, and I try to avoid that at all costs. In the mornings and at lunch, we're going to have that buffet, as I said, and these are dynamic and quite expansive buffets, you guys. It is quite the menu, and it'll be definitely sourced from local sourcing and cuisine, but also then have some staples that you might be more familiar with. You know, I'm going to say what I have found on the cruises is that they really speak to the most discerning palates. Here is just to give you an idea, you guys, of what you might expect in the evenings. Now, what happens each night is that a chef comes out, the chef and the team, and in that moment, he will share with you a little bit about the kind of the finer textures of what inspired that menu that night, what makes you know, each dish unique. And so you'll have an opportunity to take the chef's menu, and this would be an example here in courses, or you can choose an a la carte menu. So dining, you're not going to lose weight. I'm just going to be honest. I know I've said this already with our tulip time, but it is what it is. You will eat well, and then you're also going to relax well. This is the pool area and the sun deck. And I don't know about you guys, but like, I look at this picture and it reminds me of something like at an Architectural Digest. It's just so sexy, actually. But again, you're in an intimate group. So this isn't like we're on a big giant cruise ship. We're on a tiny ship. So it's very intimate. You have these wonderful little spaces to kind of disappear in. This is the Horizon Bar. As I said, the drink, wine and beer and sodas are included with your lunch and dinner. There are drink packages that you can opt for. And what I found is that they're very affordable, but they also, if you have 3 drinks a day, I guess, then they pay for themselves. So I can always send that to you, you know, if you wanted to see what that drink list was. This is the lounging areas of the ship. So this gives you an idea of the Lotus Lounge. Really great places to kind of spread out, have some time to read even. But this just gives you a different angle. You can see the hallway to the various cabins. And so wonderful moments to reflect and celebrate here. Here's where I celebrate. So I had to throw this picture in just because Kate's probably in the background laughing at me right now over this. If you're going to go to Asia, you got to have a massage, guys. That's just what it is. So this is one of my favorite places of the ship. And you can have a massage if you wish. And we do have a full day of cruising. That is the optimum day for something like this. So it is in your itinerary. I could always point out where you might fit that in. I want to talk a little bit about the accommodations. The owners is a 1-bedroom suite. You guys, this is almost 500 square feet. And it is this beautiful, spacious area, but this is what I love the most. Look at this. Look at your veranda. This terrace is a Calgon take me away. You have your own jacuzzi, your seating, and then your lounge chairs. So whoever's going to be in this cabin, Kate and I will come visit you each night if you'd like. We'll just come hang out on that deck. This is the ground balcony suite. Oh, and there's only 2 owners suites. So I should mention that. And they are first come, first served. So I can tell you by the OSU Rhine River Cruise that's happening at the end of this month, those get taken pretty quickly. So if that does appeal to you, know that you don't want to wait too long because there isn't that many. This is the grand balcony suite, you all, and this is a 2-bedroom or 2-room, not 2-bedroom, 2-room, but you have a living area and a bedroom area. It has the opened aired balconies in both rooms. The lounge is quite beautiful, very spacious, also about 400 square feet, so very comfortable. And then this is probably the most popular. There are 32 of these cabins on board. And this is the panorama balcony suite. And what you see there at the back of the room with that big window, there's a button and the whole window comes down to like a railing height so that your room becomes an open aired balcony itself. And so very spacious. And here's a different angle of the room, but very comfortable. And this is the most popular, I think, and also just from an economics perspective, also, you know, value added kind of piece. Now, I've told you a little bit.
I just wanted to add something really quick on those rooms. I stayed in many river boats that have those French balconies or open air balconies, and they are great because you do feel like you're kind of outside, but you're in, and so they're a really nice option.
And I'm going to add one more thing to what you just said, Kate, because one of the things that I think is, if you haven't done a river cruise before, the thing that I think is so charming about this is you hear the sounds of what's happening on the banks. You hear the kids playing. You hear the river lapping up against the beach. You hear the church bells. You hear, like, you know, it's so different from an ocean cruise. And I know I use that word intimate, but that's the feeling that I think you're so connected, you know, on each side. So that's something that I just have endeared to. And I'll also say it's very meditative. You're in bed and you just watch the water move by. Oh, it's so nice.
And you're moving slow and you don't have to worry about getting seasick. So that's great too.
Oh, that's very important. Yes. And so what I was going to say is, you know, that's how we're going to experience the Mekong and Cambodia and Vietnam. But we're also going to, you know, again, we're here to experience this part of the world and understand a little bit about it. And I always laugh because I always say, you know, in the Uganda gorillas, we talk about, you know, seeing one gorilla, seen them all. Nope. Seen one temple, seen them all. Nope. Each and every one of these sites is just so magnificent. And this one, the Odong Temple, is up, you guys, on this hill. And the views from this hill are just amazing. But it is kind of, I'm going to say this section of the trip will pull at your spirituality. I think there's a very interesting spiritual narrative that you're going to explore, you know, here in this area. These temples are just they're really beyond words. I mean, my pictures cannot show you the level of intricacy of each of these temples. And if you have been in this part of the world before, then you probably know what I'm talking about, but they're just so ornate. And this whole area and these two temples I've just featured, they were built somewhere between 1618 and 1863. So we're still very far back in history. And so we'll be exploring this again with local guides throughout our trip. We're never on our own. We have head devices that are allow you to be able to hear everything so wonderfully. If you're like me, you're probably standing over here to the left and looking out, but the guide is way over on the other side and you're still hearing. So it's really lovely.
Hey, Sandy, we had a quick question.
Sure.
Jeff wanted to know about mosquitoes on the river.
You're actually, because you're in the dry season, you're really not encountering that. I mean, could there be a mosquito? Yes. Are you going to be at the time of year when that's really prolific? No. So I don't ever seem to get any feedback of that being a problem for anybody, if that helps it. One of the things, and I'm going to say, when we come to this part of the world, and I'm going to say there's other parts of the world that have a similar feel here. I'm going to add that we not only do we seek to celebrate the cultures of the world and we seek to celebrate the environments of the world, but I also think we seek to celebrate truth and our understanding of humanity in the world. And sometimes we are brought to attention to see things that maybe are harsh and really hard to swallow, quite honestly. I have often said that I feel that maybe in my history classes, I was a bit failed by the things that I don't know if I truly understood until I traveled the world. And so one of those visits that we're going to have, and it'll be a sobering visit, is the killing fields. What we had here was in the Khmer Rouge regime, there was approximately 1 million people who were killed from 1975 to 1979. Now, this is all in our lifetimes, right? That this level of genocide occurred. And what's interesting is I saw a quote by a survivor who said, this is what he said. I just thought this was so crazy. He said, the Khmer Rouge were very clever and brutal. that their tactics were effective because most of us refused to believe their malicious intentions. Their goal, quote unquote, was to liberate us. And that's what the people believed. And then this happened. So we're going to take some deep dives into this and, maybe have a little bit of a truth serum here. But I think it brings out our humanity and our connectivity to the peoples of the world. And
it's a very important topic, especially when you're traveling in this area. So it is one that we can't step aside from.
No, yeah. And I mean, I'm going to be honest. I mean, there's times, right? You just want to look down. I don't want to know that, but I think it's our duty in the world. I do think it is our duty as global citizens. And so, we're going to look at these atrocities. We're going to look at, maybe the things that led up to them. The museums in Cambodia are very interesting. And one of which is the Genocide Museum that we're going to stop with. And this was a school. And so there's that juxtaposed between, you've got this school, and then it became a prison, and now it's a genocide museum. So it's just, even that narrative is kind of wonky, but it clearly portrays the Cambodians' devastating past. So we are going to take some time to learn a little bit about that. And it's a really well done museum. So I have to say it's an experience that'll be memorable for you for sure. And then, we're then going to move our way into sort of modern day meet, old world society. This is at the junction of the Mekong River, this city, and Phnom Penh is the capital city of Cambodia. And it's bustling. This is active and, vibrant. You see these tuk-tuks. I'm going to talk about tuk-tuks in a minute, but I just like to say the word. But one of the things that we're going to do is tour these regions. And so these are guided experiences where we're going to be able to learn a little bit about some of those iconic sites that you might expect to see while you're there. This is the royal residence of the King of Cambodia. There's a monarchy in Cambodia. So, even learning that, this is, Cambodia has a monarch. We'll learn a little bit about that history. The royal gardens here are just spectacular, absolutely beautiful. Hopefully we will have time to jump into one of these little tuk-tuks. And if you have traveled, those of you, you're probably giggling because you know what I'm talking about when I say you just don't look forward, whatever you do. You distract yourself, but don't try to be the driver because it's an experience. It's an adventure, right, Kate? It's an adventure on a tuk-tuk. So, hopefully that'll give you an opportunity to explore the city a little bit. The other thing that I want to talk about is some of the excursions, because there's not just the everyday daily excursions, but then there's these additional excursions, some of which are included in the tour, and Emerald Plus is one of those. And we're going to look at, maybe this is something you choose to do, where we see the production of silk, right? And the silk was used in China, Southeast Asia, Europe, since the ancient times. I think the production of silk has been around for 4,500 years. And silk was brought to this part of the world through the maritime Silk Road. So it's not that silk was actually, it was really China that silk really sort of made its day, but it was brought through this Silk Road. And this is going to be more, I would say, indicative of traditional weaving. And I have a love affair with this because I do feel that we are losing the trades, those rich traditions that, one generation passes to the next, and we're losing that in our youth. We do not have the weaving occurring around the world that we once did. It's really, there's honestly a conservation effort for traditional weaving, work with textiles today. And so this would include, in this case, very traditional tube skirts, shawls, blankets, and they use a back tension loom with circular warps. So we're going to learn a little bit about that process. We're going to visit with local farming communities to learn a little bit about traditional life here along the Mekong, also farming practices, but also what's grown in this part of the world. You're in one of the most fertile places of the world, so they're on the Mekong Delta. So we're going to explore that. I can't give a talk ever, because I am coming from the sciences personally. I can't ever not include some kind of biodiversity statement, but the Mekong is an incredibly rich biodiverse region of the world. And so you are going to have the chance, not only during the cruise with that open-aired balcony to look forth, but we're also going to go to one of the bird sanctuaries. And there are 2 very world endangered species that can be found in this particular bird sanctuary. And during the dry season, it is said to be 20,000 birds can be found here, which is crazy. We're going to visit small villages, and this is where it gets very different, you guys, from like maybe if you've done a European cruise where you're coming into villages, but they are quite pronounced towns and cities. In this case, we're going to be working with very intimate communities, and this community here on the Mekong, we're going to enjoy traditional folk songs. We're going to have performances by the villagers and unique dancing and foods that would be very common to this region. This is kind of a funny story. This is a love story, you guys. Oh, we're going to come in touch with a love story while we're on this trip. This house represents kind of Hollywood, really. I think there was an actual movie made here, y'all. The house that inspired the Frenchman author Marguerite Duras. Do you know this? The novel La Amante. The Lover was the name of the book. And so this book was quite featured, and there was a love story that occurred here. So while the house is really interesting, it's the love story that you're going to imbibe to. We're going to eat lots of fun foods. We're going to go to a coconut candy workshop. So we're going to learn how to make coconut candy. Not to mention a whole variety of different Southeast Asian dishes over the course of our travels. We're also going to follow the Mekong River all the way down to where it meets the ocean. And I have to say, 100 years ago, you guys, this was an impenetrable swamp. Today, it's kind of the Rice Bowl. And it's inhabited, the Mekong itself, this route is inhabited by about 18 million people. Roughly 20% of the country's population in this area. And so these are some of the scenes and the views that we might get. And the people of the Mekong have adapted, like many rivers, I think, have adapted to adjust to the ebbs and flows, the monsoons, the raising of the river. So you're going to see these stilted houses, very traditional boats, as you see here. And then we're going to come completely the opposite direction. We're going to sail up the coast, and we have 1 full day of sailing. And I bring this up because I have to tell you, there's something about that, I think, when we can be silent and just observe, that's really beautiful. And so you're going to have this opportunity to finish the Mekong in this beautiful cruise. You come up the coast. We're going to sail right into the harbor here. This is formerly known as Saigon, and it's Ho Chi Minh City. And it's Vietnam's largest city. So we're going to explore this city with some guided visits. We're also going to have a hotel stay here as well. And this will include, some of the cathedrals and some of the iconic sites. But then we're also going to get outside the city, and we're going to go see the Cu Chi tunnels, which you guys were built over a 25-year span starting in the 40s. And this is where the Viet Cong was able to elude in the American and French wars. They are these expansive tunnels. They lived in them, they navigated them, but we're going to learn about these tunnels that were there and how, and even the foresight that they would have started building them in the 40s. But of course, this is another chapter, a hard chapter too. So this will be a dialogue, and I think a different perspective possibly on maybe some of the experiences we all know so well. we're going to walk with the local historians. We're going to visit some of the more incredible buildings. This is one of the post office. Look how beautiful this is. The city hall is just amazing. And this is not the Vietnam. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes this isn't the image that I have, you know, like, so I find that that is fun in travel when it breaks you of what you might, your stereotype of what you might think that you were going to see. And so this is we're going to stop and learn about each of these sites. Now, the trip itself, this just gives you a little bit about it, but I am going to bring up one really important point here. We are including the free air from whatever gateway, if you're coming out of Portland or LAX or wherever you might be with us today. This includes round trip air for you all, which is significant. So this is a massive savings. I highly recommend, if this has been on your bucket list, you're going to want to take advantage of this before July 31st. And I'm going to probably encourage you to, we're a little ahead of the curve right now in 23. So what that means is, if you are deciding to take this trip, you're going to come in before everybody else has come in and taken cabins. So you're getting the pick of the litter. And I do bring that up because particularly if it's the owners or the balcony suites, you know, those tend to, the deluxe balcony suites tend to go quickly.
They do. We have a question about upgrading on air. So if you do want to upgrade your flights, you do have that option. Sam, do you want to tell them how to do it?
Yes. So our air department works with everybody. You know, we do work with group ticketing, but what we'll do is we work with you as a group. Once you've paid your final payment is when the air department takes over your reservations. And then we have put notes on your request. So then they start sending you the schedules and the details related to what it is you're asking for. And I'm also going to tell you too, sometimes, and I'm going to give you a trick of the trade, but you're going to get your air ticketing and you'll get your record locator number, which is like we all get all the time when we fly. And you can actually go in and adjust your own seating too. So there's multiple moments, I guess. We can adjust it for you, or you can come in and adjust it as well, depending on what your interests are. Maybe you don't want to go to first class or something.
Right, and upgrades, of course, would be additional cost. So that would be on to the traveler.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to skip over one thing for a second, because I just want to give two images. I want to be sensitive to time here. We have, as Kate mentioned, we have 2 more trips that are coming down the pipeline. And so I thought I would just give you a quick glimpse of what those are. In October, you guys, this is a brand new Discovery yacht. It is a yacht. And like the Harmony, which we've seen here on the Mekong, it is a small ship, 100 passengers in total, 64 staff, almost a 1-to-1 ratio. And it's coastal sailing. So it's designed like the ship was on the Mekong, where we can come into harbors that no other ships ever are able to get into. So it's a really kind of an off the beaten path type sailing experience. It is brand new. We just finished its first month of sailing. So those of you on this trip in October, you're coming into a brand new ship. State of the art, extraordinary spacious rooms, but this just gives you like, this is the pool deck. Look at that picture. I just had to share that.
Yeah, and this is the French and Italian Rivieras visiting Corsica. So that's the
exactly. Tour. And you really get into those little fishing villages all along the Riviera that most people don't ever see, and you can't even sometimes get to them by land. So so it makes it very exciting. And then this is way over in a whole nother universe of travel, but I am going to bring this up too, because we've got the trekking of the gorillas and chimps in Uganda. And this is also during the dry season. This is an amazing location. If you are a wildlife enthusiast, I can't imagine anything more spectacular than this. These are close-up encounters with both gorilla populations and families, as well as chimp populations. But this is a philanthropic trip. Just your presence is funding the support of these national parks. So there's a lot of great kind of economics that's woven into this trip that supports you know, the overall conservation of these wild populations.
Yeah.
So we'll have the chance to
Sandy,
to
can we go back to the pricing slide? They wanted to
Yes.
look at that one more time. And then if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop it in chat, and we can answer those for you about this great tour.
And I do have you all a fun little video, if I don't know what our time is, so you can let me know, that shows you a little bit more of the boat if you want to see it, or Kate, you can send it after the talk as a link.
Well, let's see if we've had any questions come in. Doesn't really look like we do. We have one that doesn't see the hotel in the brochure. So do we have pictures of the hotel?
The pictures aren't in there. Let me send you the links of the hotels.
Okay.
So
I will send them out.
Yeah, I'll have you send that out, Kate. And they are, as I shared with you guys, the boat, they are as equally charming and beautiful, and you know, I would say top notch. You know, I find Asian hotels are like a step above. It's true of all of Asia, is what my experience has been, but these are beautiful places. So I'll make sure I send you the links so that you all see them. In your itinerary on the 3rd page, it'll say the hotels, just so you guys know.
And then we had another great question about signing up, and I just realized I forgot to put the reservation form on our website. So I will add that.
Yes.
And then we'll also put it in the recap email for all those who joined the talk tonight. So I'll have that form for you to use to sign up. And one thing we've been doing is do not put your credit card information on the form and then email it. I don't want to see anyone's credit card numbers through email. So best way to do it is fill out the form, and you can take a picture of it and you can email that to me, and then we'll hold your spot, but then put your credit card information and pop it in the mail to Mayflower, and the address is on the form. So that's the best way. You email me, let me know that you're putting the form in the mail. We've got your spots, and then Mayflower will get the payment.
And we're very old school, you all. So I'm going to be honest with you, like, you know, Kate and I have worked together for years, so we're very comfortable. But in the Mayflower office, it's just 2 of us that will be working with you directly, and myself being your primary relationship here. And so when on that form, it's going to ask you your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd choice for your cabins. That's what, you know, I mean, it may be a few weeks and you haven't paid yet, but I'm going to put you on that cabin, because that's, you know, ultimately I want to make sure you get the cabin that you're looking for. And so that's important. And on your brochure, it'll tell you the different cabins and the numbers and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, then why don't we just go ahead and show that video, and we can answer questions. And then I put in chat the direct link to the trip on our website. So you can see that too.
Okay. This shows you guys so much better than I can say as far as the experience. So we'll get through this little introduction here for a second. But I just find you'll get a real texture of what it feels like to sail on this ship. Once we get past through all the many introductions.
We have a few logos.
Yeah. Like any one of those dishes for dinner.
It is making me hungry.
We do bring touring artist on board. So you'll also have some shows that you're enjoying intimately there on the ship. Look at Miranda.
It's a good anniversary room for celebration.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And this is the staterooms. I didn't talk about those, but that's the bottom of the ship. So see how I said we come up the coast here and then come right into the city? A little bit more on Angkor Wat. And I think we've probably seen all of these. So that gives you guys hopefully a little bit better, would you say? Like it just shows you the ship just a little bit, I don't know.
No, it's great.
Intimate.
Yes, and even those staterooms looked very comfortable. Though that bed looked like you could just fall right into it. And
I could use that this week.
yes. Well, great. Well, that is about it. Here, Sandy, do you want to switch controls and I will share my screen. And then what we'll do is just close here in just a minute to run through a couple little to-dos that I like to share with the group before we head out. If there are websites right here at the top for oregonstate.org/travel, that's where you find us. And if you go out on any trip, be sure to check these websites. We still are in COVID and things change. So we're always keeping an eye on and what the case may be with wherever you're going. And where to find us. So we have a fairly new website. You want to go up to this Get Involved button at the top and then click on Alumni Travel. And then here on your left bar will help you navigate where our tours are. You could go to the tour calendar, the travel talks page. There's some travel resources. We even have tours specifically for recent grads. If you've got a recent grad in your family, and we're starting some new smaller private group departures too. So if you have a family reunion or a family group, talk to us and we can help you put a trip together. And then on our travel talks page, we'll tell you where all of when our next travel talks are, such as that June 1st one that you need to save the date on. And then at the bottom of that page is the recordings of all of our talks. And we will send out an email with the recording of this conversation, as well as the resources, the hotels for the trip, the brochure, the reservation form, and any of the other information that you might need. So thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you very much, Sandy, for being with us tonight.
Thank you all. This was wonderful. Yes. Thank you.
And we look forward to, forgot about our Facebook group too. So you can always find us too on Facebook. I don't post a whole lot, so I'm not going to spam your Facebook page, but we do post from time to time and definitely encourage others to post on there as well. So thank you again, and we hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thank you, guys.